Welcome everybody. In this video, I'll show you the simplest way to trade supply and demand as we go through market structure for Wednesday, 3rd of June 2026. Starting with gold. This was the first move. Price broke structure at this point. Sorry, excuse me. So this was the beginning of the candle. Here. This thing is having issues. Okay, so this was the beginning of the day. Yeah. And then price came back down here and changed character to the downside. After this change of character to the downside, there wasn't any valid zone around here. The only valid zone after that is here, this point. A valid supply zone sell from, but it didn't go all the way back up. Stops would have been here, targeting the 1:2.1. So after coming back here on its retracement, it's going to go all the way back to this point. So that was how this one didn't work out. Then price later came back to break structure to the downside, leaving behind this clean supply zone where sellers could have easily made profits. This thing is really touching. Okay, so that's where the stop loss will be placed and target here. This is the invalidating high, also known as the strong high, and this was our targeted draw on liquidity, which price still came all the way here to take out. So this was the week low of our draw on liquidity. Over to XAU to Euro USD rather. This was what happened. Price came all the way up here. This was the beginning of the candle of the day rather, this one here. So price broke structure at this point and came back to change character here. Now, this was not a valid supply zone for me, because if you are to enter this point, first of all, there is actually a push away from it, but it's not really looking that solid. And then the target would have been at this point, this level here. This is the invalidating level. Weak high. And then this was supposed to be the new point, draw liquidity. So the 2.1 would have been around here. It wouldn't have made sense. So this trade wouldn't have happened. I wouldn't have taken a trade. So after that, price broke structure here and came up. There wasn't any valid supply zone to sell from here. Came back again and broke structure here. Same thing, there wasn't any valid supply zone around here because the push away was not really much. Even if you were to look for a supply zone, this would be it, but I still wouldn't have taken this trade. Anyway, nothing really happened on Euro USD. On GBP USD, this was the beginning of the day. This is the break of structure to the upside. And price changed character to the downside here. After that, once again, this wouldn't have been a valid place to sell from because it was so far away from the invalidation level, which is this high here. This high. Anyway, after that, price came here and changed and broke structure to the downside. There wasn't any valid zone here, so I'm not taking that. Okay. After that, it came here and kept on breaking structure. So if price had come up, although it had already been evening time, so there's no way we would have taken the trade again. This would have been a valid supply zone to sell from. But as it's evening, there's no need. On AUD/USD, this was its first break of structure. I hope you people are understanding my breaks of structure because it starts from the first candle that they printed, this 12 a.m. candle. The break of structure is at the high. So after that, price came here, changed character to the downside, and there wasn't any valid supply zone around here, because there was no serious impulsive move away from that zone. So break of structure here, nothing serious, no zone here. Even if price still didn't come back down here, this is not holding because there isn't an impulsive push away from it. So this is not a valid zone. This is not a valid break of structure because there's only one bullish candle here. There wasn't a second one that closed above the close of this one. So that's not a valid zone. And we move over to NZD/USD. So from the looks of it, it seems it's only gold that had a trade. Anyway, let's just continue. This was our break of structure, change of character. There wasn't any valid zone because there's no impulsive candle away from it. Price came here to break structure again, and this is not a valid supply zone to sell from, because if you're to sell, first of all, there isn't even any impulsive candle that is moving away from it, and if you're to sell, you have to enter here and place your stop above here, and your 2.1 2R will be around here, which is not really convincing to me, especially as there isn't any impulsive bearish candle moving away from this zone. So that's not a valid place to sell from. This one again is another break of structure to the downside, and there wasn't any valid pullback to this zone. This would have been a good place to sell from because of these two candles. They're not really impulsive candles, but relative to these ones here, relative to these little candles here, these are large candles. So anyway, if price had come back up, we would have sold from these points, and it didn't. So now moving to USD CAD. This is USD CAD. First of all, it had a break of structure before changing character to the upside. After that change of character, we won't mark this as anything because it's too small. What we'll do is, this is the new break of structure. There wasn't any valid demand zone to buy from here. So price broke structure to the upside, and yep, price also didn't come back down here. So this is another one here. Break of structure. Same thing, this time there wasn't any valid demand zone. So that's just it. I think it's just good I had a trade today. There's also a break of structure. Anyway, on here is this HF, last but not least. We had, okay, this was just liquidity that was taken here. The price didn't really break structure. So after liquidity was taken, we had a break of structure to the upside. That break of structure. This is not a valid break of structure, just because the bearish candle after this didn't close below the close of this one, so we'll not take it as a valid one. We can take this, however, as a valid break of structure. But price didn't come back down to this demand zone for us to take a trade off of. Anyway, after that, it came back, broke here. This one is a valid break of structure because the low of this bearish candle closed below the low of this one. Sorry, the close of this bearish candle was below the close of this one. So it came back down, entered into this demand zone. This would have been, let's see if it would have been a good place to buy from. So place a low below here and it targeted 2.1. Okay, yeah, this would have been a clean trade. Right? Yeah, it could still have been a clean trade if you are taking it. Anyway, so that is it. Price came back down, entered it, and that's everything. You guys should like the video, subscribe. I forgot to say this before. Like the video and subscribe. Turn on the notification button, share it, and join my Telegram group. So we'll see you again later. Goodbye.